Today we're joined by Ian Sharp, a veteran producer and founder of Sharp House Productions, whose expertise spans creative, production logistics and delivering complex films and television projects. Originally from Lincolnshire, Ian has worked on a wide range of productions, helping to bring ambitious stories to life on time, on budget and with creative vision intact. His practical knowledge and problem-solving skills make him a trusted partner on both independent and large-scale productions. Today, we'll explore Ian's journey from Lincolnshire to producing across the UK, the challenges of bringing stories to the screen, and his perspective on supporting regional filmmaking talent. Please welcome Ian Sharp to Location Links Loud. Ian, thank you so much for doing the podcast.
Pleasure.
We are at Scunthorpe United. Why are we here, Ian?
Why are we here? Why are we here? I am silly enough to be one of the co-owners of Scunthorpe United. So, yes, we bought the club in 2023, October 2023. And here we are now. Yeah, a few years later, we're currently fifth in the National League. Sorry, I'm boring you with the football
football.
detail.
We'll get to film in a minute.
But yeah, no, it's obviously it's an incredible stadium, and it's great for me. And I'm from Scunthorpe originally, which I know we'll go into a lot further. So I wanted you guys to come here and see the stadium, see the kind of surrounding land, and yeah, I'm glad you're here.
But you're also a producer.
I am.
Now, for those that may not know, can you describe what a producer does?
Oh, that's okay. Right. What does a producer do? As you know, there are so many different. It's such a vague kind of title. I mean, if I look at some of my responsibilities, I can be involved from an idea, from literally ideation, like concept idea. Oh, we should do a film about this or a TV show about that, all the way through to developing the show itself, and then going out there and casting it, raising the finance, actually physically producing the show or the film, delivering that to a streamer or whoever, and then involved in the marketing, putting it out there. That it can be as much as that, or it could be, okay, there is a movie that's come to us that is 95% financed, it's missing that little piece. Do I know anyone that could probably close that gap? And yet I could potentially find that missing piece, and I turn up at the movie when it's premiering. It could be that it's a real mixture, but really I see the producer role, and I know you are certainly that way. You are a creative entrepreneur. You are, every project is a completely new business, is a new startup. And they all have their different journeys and ways to get to where they need to go to. So you have to be over everything as a producer. You really do have to be a jack of all trades. You need to be able to have a conversation from creative, finance, distribution, marketing, dealing with talent, and we know the challenges of that, good and bad. So yeah, it's a pretty full-on role, but it's very rewarding for sure.
So, in what drew you to working in production and producing rather than another part of the industry? Although I do know you dabble in other parts.
Yeah. So if I'm honest, it kind of came through desperation for me, because I moved to London at 19 from Scunthorpe to be an actor. So I went to drama school, and I was a jobbing actor for many years. Even when I started producing, I was very much acting and producing. It came from a place of, I remember as an outwork actor and being quite entrepreneurial, or just maybe I've got some undiagnosed ADHD. I need to be doing stuff, and as an actor, a lot of the times you're very dependent on agents and opportunities whereas I really struggled with that, just on a kind of my own kind of a personal level. And I wanted to put on a production, like a play, so I could give myself a job. And my girlfriend, who's now my wife, we could have a gig effectively, and some of my friends. And then very luckily that play got turned into a very low budget movie called Kick-Off, and again that was about football, so that's clearly a through line in my life. And that was just so, again, for someone like myself who really wanted to get hands on, that was a real light bulb moment in my career. And I just kind of immerse myself into that side of the industry. What does a producer do, as I kind of touched on, but I was really kind of empowered by that as an actor, going, wow, I can actually generate my own work. I can, and if I look back, actually, when I was a kid watching the movies that really inspired me, a lot of those actors, they actually wrote the movies or they directed them or whatever. So maybe that was something quite natural in me that I didn't realize I'd had, and because I was out of work. But yeah, no, it's kind of grown from there, really. But yeah, that was
Well,
my
you
way in.
mentioned Kickoff, but are there any, you've worked across a diverse amount of projects. Like, is there anything in particular on productions that stand out as turning points for you?
Well, Kickoff certainly was the big one that really kind of triggered that. Wow, I can actually create my own work. That was a big deal. I think they've all had. I think I've done around 20 features now. They've all had a light bulb moment in them. I think my second feature, which I filmed in Grimsby, again, that came from a place of like, I want to make a movie in the region. I want to make an action movie. Can I do it? Because the first one came about quite, I won't say I was lucky because I had to create that look, but it kind of came out of nowhere. Whereas I had to do it properly now. I had to go, oh, well, I have to go and raise finance. I have to develop a script. I have to, go and cast it and whatnot. So again, that second movie was almost like my first movie in a way of like, okay, oh, this is how it's done. So Pleasure Island, it was called. Again, relatively low, but well, it was a low budget movie. But then off the back of that, I then got some interest for institutional, like I'm kind of in the biz then, right? People kind of accept you when they start to give you some finance. And called The Marker, which a lot of our funding came from Creative England. And that was a much bigger budget movie. And then, yeah, from there, it just kind of went and kind of grew. Stronger, strength to strength.
So Sharp House Productions, or Sharp House Entertainment.
Sharp House
It's
Entertainment.
just a relaunch, I saw.
Relaunch, yeah.
It's built a strong reputation as a multimedia production company, making bold, populist content across film, television, and digital.
Yes.
What inspired you to create your own production company?
Again, I think it came from a place of kind of creative control. Like I had to be busy. I had to do stuff. I found it very difficult waiting for the phone to ring, which I'm sure a lot of actors who watch this will understand that. So I got growing up, I set up a production company. I set up company's house, set up a company, and we just kind of built it from there. Really, I really, I was so immersed in the craft of acting. Like it took over my life to the point where I wouldn't even take holidays. It was like, I can't take a holiday because I'd miss an opportunity for a gig or whatnot. So, whereas suddenly when I had this production kind of business, it just gave me that kind of real creative freedom to think, okay, well, what the kind of films or shows or whatever it was, I produced some theatre plays. What are the things that I want to watch or I want to be associated with? That really inspired me. And that gave me that kind of freedom. And to have a production company and to be a producer, as I said, you really do have to be entrepreneurial. You need to know how to raise finance. That's a real skill. And it gave me that opportunity to do that.
Just from producer to producer, what's the first thing you look for in a script? Because I know what my answer is to that.
Oh, really?
Shall I tell you my answer and then you
Yeah,
say
go for it.
I always think audience first.
Yes, massively.
Because if there's no audience,
Yeah,
there's nobody watching it.
Yeah,
You're just gonna.
it's so true. I would probably say the same. Like, who is the audience? And I've got to think. In fact, if anything, now I always think, right, it's got to be entertainment, capitally bold. It's got to stand out. Fundamentally, there's got to be an audience, and I think most kind of new filmmakers or independent filmmakers, they don't maybe quite grasp that. They might, they want to, and I understand where they're coming from, and I was probably the same. You want to make something that's quite intimate and it's probably about something that's happened in their life or they've been associated with, and that's
that makes me think of the next thing that I think of, what's the route to market? Which is actually sad for a creative, because if it hasn't got an audience and you can't find a way to get it to that audience,
it's
what's the point of making it?
It's
but
true.
As a creative, it is my art. I get that. And as a creative producer, I want to make things I believe in. But if nobody's going to watch it, what's the point of making it?
And that's the thing, I'm sure you get it as well. You get pitched by every kind of filmmaker who's got a script to read and have got projects. But ultimately, in 2 seconds, the way they've described it, I'm like, "Ooh, no one's going to watch that," and ultimately that means no one's going to make any money on it, or they're not going to at least get a close return on their investment. And fundamentally, that is important, you know, because especially if you want to have a career and you want to have a living from it. So yeah, no, that is a fine line that kind of creators have to understand. And I think having a producer that's kind of been through, got some war wounds, and will understand maybe what the taste of the market is, what the finances, the broadcasters, the streamers, what they're after. I think that kind of level of intelligence is critical, you know, when you're starting out now.
And also the time it takes
Yeah.
to make a film.
Yeah.
I'll read a script, but it's about the people around that script.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
you've got to spend years with these people.
Yeah, you can't be a dickhead.
Or if you are, you need to be really talented.
You're like, you have to be a rock star, right?
You have to be a
Yeah,
rock
yeah.
star,
I mean,
or you're going to make me a lot of money. No.
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly had my fair share of dickheads, and they weren't rock stars.
I don't know whether we can say that. On here, but I don't know.
Oh, really? Oh, this is a family-friendly podcast.
I don't know.
Not the best people.
Not the best people.
But you're right, because ultimately you're going into battle with these guys for several years, and if you're not like aligned in any way, I mean, even if you have completely different personality types, there's not a respect there, a mutual respect there.
The Fullwell guys, when I was there, that was one thing we've been, especially on the scripted stuff, you'd come out the other side and go, we've been to battle on that one, we've been to war together, we've been,
without a doubt,
and there's nothing better than a bond making a film together with people.
Yeah.
Can you share a project where you felt you overcame particularly complex logistical or creative challenges and what that taught to you about producing?
Yeah. So I made a film for a big studio not that long ago, so I'm sure that's easily figured out. And it was one of the most difficult, challenging like jobs I've ever had in my career, to the point where I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I don't need to put myself through this. It was incredibly difficult in so many ways. But I just knew, and in fact, many producers dropped off the film, but because of my background and the resilience of, you know, coming from a place like Scunthorpe where, you know, no doors are open for you, you got to go out there and grasp them, right? I think that was my kind of superpower, to stay in the job, stay in the gig, and because of that, to be fair, it has, because of the big brand and the association with the studio and stuff, it has opened up other opportunities. But that was definitely one of those moments where I was like, oh God, do I really want to keep doing this? But then what I did do very quickly after that job had finished, I was like, okay, I need to do a movie that I'm going to fall in love with. Like, even if it wasn't going to make any money or whatever, I need to be involved, associated with something that made me fall back in love with why we do what we do. And luckily, you know, I found a project to do that. Yeah.
So looking back, is there a moment that you felt a professional breakthrough when you knew you'd arrived in your field?
Ooh. If there is, I can't think of one like that as such. Look, it's amazing to have an idea. I remember being in a Starbucks in West London, and, you know, developing an idea for a movie where, you know, I was this, you know, I had this idea where, you know, someone would come back to their kind of hometown and they'd done okay for themselves, but their family really didn't like take to that, and almost like, oh, look at this big Ed, thinking who he is or whatever like that. And I thought, well, there's something there, but that's probably not a movie. So then, is he a soldier? Is he this or whatever? And I remember developing this idea in this coffee in this Starbucks for a while, and then to see that get all the way delivered into, you know, have to be in a London Film Festival and whatever. And I was like, oh my God, like that just came out of my brain, you know. And then suddenly it's a movie that's going to live on forever now, and I get comments on it and stuff like that even to this day. That was pretty amazing. But I don't know. I'm one of those guys where, you know, it's cool that there's a lot that comes, you know, loads of lovely perks and stuff. But to be honest, you know, when I do my day's work, I want to go home. I want to see my kids. I want to watch the footy. So yeah, I don't know if that has given you a straight answer, but yeah, I don't know if I don't feel like I've arrived.
Maybe you're still to arrive.
I don't think that's ever. I think the way I am, and I know on paper I've done a certain amount of things and I've got some businesses and stuff, but I don't feel like that. I feel like, oh, I should be doing more. Do you know what I mean? I should have done more. I think that's the curse of, probably the downside of being quite kind of driven, is it's not enough.
There's always something else.
There's always something else. Do you know what I mean? You've had
thing.
success and it's like, well,
There's
I
always
want more of that. Do you know what I mean? So
well, it's it's on to the next thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think I'll ever give up having ideas.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're wired that way.
Or I want to read the next thing and be excited by
Yeah,
that script.
yeah.
As a new writer,
Yeah,
there's something
yeah.
really special, and being able to take that through to the point where you're watching it that first time, that first cut, that you've gone, God, we did that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it gives you that, yeah.
So producing requires a lot of balancing creative vision and practical realities. How do you manage that balance?
Good question. I think you have to understand both and you have to respect both. And I think that is the challenge that I have regularly when I'm working with filmmakers, is understanding that, you know, the streamers might have certain notes that they require to be implemented into the script, and getting the creators on board to understand why that they want to do that. That is a constant kind of a balance. And sometimes, if we're making something, we don't quite raise enough finance to get to that kind of level of budget, but we have to reduce it or whatnot. You're always adapting. But I would say sometimes more money, more problems. When I've been lucky enough to make some independent movies, sometimes if you've got less, it unlocks that creative kind of freedom in you to go, okay, well, we don't have an option. We've got to do it a different way or whatnot.
Do you think it brings a different kind of commitment because you're committing to the project, you're not committing to the job?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
makes sense.
exactly. And it's not the ego or anything like that. It's about the work.
Yeah.
It's about the gig. Yeah, it's about like servicing. What was the intention of the project, which completely gets lost a lot of the times when you're making something, doesn't it? Especially when there's more money, there's more voices, there's more influence. Yeah, but it is something that you have to constantly kind of. But then at the same time, I'm very deliberate now. I have staff. I've got to now, if I'm making stuff, it has to have a meaningful kind of financial kind of commitment to it, because otherwise I can't afford to pay the bills. It's as simple as that. So you've got to. So now when we're taking on projects, it's like, well, again, is there an audience? Is this going to make a commercial kind of impact? Is this a theatrical release? Is this going to create those kind of bold talking moments that a lot of the good content does and has? Yeah.
So how closely do you work with directors and actors and crew to ensure the production runs smoothly?
Very hands-on. Very hands-on. Now I'm a little bit more kind of, I float in and out as such, but like, to get to that stage where we're actually in production, as you are everything on it. Do you know what I mean? You're literally, you're driving that train, and you're managing all the kind of roles and responsibilities of that. For sure. That's kind of how I make sure I respect everybody's. We did a Q&A today. Make sure I respect everybody's roles and responsibilities. I make sure I respect the finance as well, and make sure that the creators understand why it's important that the financiers have this kind of request or whatnot. And same with the talent, is, are they listened to? Are they heard? How are they feeling about it all? Sometimes they might pivot into an area where it's like, well, no, that's the script is it's that for a reason. That's what you've signed up to. So you have to be constantly adaptable. You have to be almost like a therapist, a counselor or something, don't you, as a producer?
From the top to the bottom as well. You've got to be
always,
every job. Can you give me an example of a problem that you've had to solve quickly to keep a shoot on track? We might not keep this in.
But no problem. I'm trying to think of a problem where the potential film. I mean, we shot a movie over COVID, and that was unbelievably difficult because we couldn't close the movie down. That was hundreds of thousands of pounds a day. So we had to find a scenario where the director was in his car and was directing the movie through a monitor. I've had actors that are not really feeling, they've fallen out with the director, or falling out with someone on set that you're having to deal with, and you're having to talk them down so they come out of their dressing room and perform and stuff. I think, again, going back to what it takes to be
it's not just me then, that's okay.
No. And as an actor, I've been on sets where your kind of A-list talent that we'd all recognize the names, they're just not coming out. I mean that happens rarely. If anything, the more challenges I probably have, if I take it back, is people I kind of knew and starting out, thinking that they have to behave a certain way, which I think is ridiculous. But yeah, no, many times we've been in situations where I'm like, if we don't think on our feet, if we don't resolve this, then it's done. Yeah, it's not easy.
How much of producing is planning versus instinct?
Oh, I've never thought of it that way.
And improvisation, I suppose, as well.
It's definitely improvisation. Definitely, especially when you're in production. Plan as much as you can, but as we know, something can change. An essential element can change. An actor can get ill for the day, so you have to completely readjust the schedule. The weather could change. You are literally like you've employed everyone. You're setting up, the production, and then the money falls out. You have to be a very thick-skinned, adaptable, entrepreneurial person to want to take on this job. You need a lot of skill sets to manage with the pressure of it. Especially even on a low budget movie, you can be talking millions of pounds, right? That's a lot of pressure. Yeah,
Yeah. So, Lincolnshire,
Lincolnshire.
it's becoming a popular destination for film and
Yeah, yeah.
TV, which is really exciting. How does the county support your work as a producer and as a native yellow belly?
Yeah.
What are your aspirations for the county?
Well, although I have shot a movie here years ago, because I live in London, I obviously spend a lot of time here because of the football club, but I don't spend a lot of the times probably networking as much as I should do with the council, in the Lincolnshire region. I do in Scunthorpe because they are very hands-on with the football club. So, and then we inevitably have talks about what I do and about film and TV and bringing film and television opportunities into the region. So, I think I think there is an interest there, but I still think there's a lack of understanding of what is required. So, we spoke about today about you know pockets of funding or grants or whatever. That is inevitably, when you're asking for someone for money, that's always going to be a challenging conversation. So I probably don't spend a huge amount of time having those kind of conversations with here. But sorry, what was the second part?
So what are your aspirations for the county? What can you see for the future?
You look at someone like Screen Yorkshire or the North East, it's just become the norm that, well, that's where you go and film. You go and make something there, it's just a part of the kind of early conversations as a producer. It's like that is a completely alternative,
Yeah,
part
it's
of Ireland,
when you're sitting down and doing your finance plan and how you're going to get this away. It's like, can we do it in Wales?
Yeah,
Can we do it in the North East? Can we do it in Yorkshire?
Yeah.
Because that's where the funding is.
Yeah.
And
as
if
simple as
not,
that.
should we go to Romania? Don't really want to go to Romania.
Yeah.
So, or not, you would go there if it's going to get the film made, but
yeah.
if it's not authentic to the story,
Yeah.
it's got, you've got all these questions creatively
I mean,
and
I've seen
financially.
shows on TV where they're supposed to be set in like Yorkshire or whatever, and they're clearly in Spain. Like, it's just like so obvious. But unfortunately, you have to go there because that's where you can actually physically produce a show. But I want Lincolnshire to be a region where it's completely normalized that that is an alternative a place to go and film. I mean, I know big huge productions have come into the region, and that is amazing. But how can we attract, well, certainly more of that, but more kind of inward investment into the region, whether it be studio space, which again we've spoken about today, further infrastructure.
Just for context, today is one of the days we've had a networking event.
Yeah.
So we've been talking to local creatives in Scunthorpe that you've kindly hosted. And that has come up in conversation, is how do we encourage more filmmaking in the region? There is already an exponential rise in what's happening in the county, but we don't have a film fund outside of the North and North East Lincolnshire, which qualifies for Yorkshire and Humberside. So we are trying to campaign to have a fund that services the whole of the county, and in that it encourages producers to bring their productions to the county. But also, I talked about, and I'll bring it up again here, is it is actually cheaper to shoot in Lincolnshire. Now, you may not have a film fund, but by doing a feasibility for the region, you might be able to shave 10-20% off the budget. So that 10-20% might be that little bit that you need for gap funding. So if we're talking to other producers that know what we're talking about, by bringing it down 20%, you can greenlight. So I would ask that any producers considering coming to the county do come to producers in the region or come to Location Links to do a feasibility on your production to see if it's possible to get that last little bit down on your budget to be able to get it into production.
No, the cost of production would be significantly less filming it in Lincolnshire than it would be probably any other county, if I'm honest.
And the first question I would ask, well, is the infrastructure there? Can we support the production?
I mean, besides maybe large kind of studio spaces, which again, you can adapt warehouses. You can. I don't see that as an excuse why you shouldn't be able to. And loads of places you can film on location, and you can take over those locations. It's got almost every landscape here, and every location that you probably could want to use.
But we can double up London.
Yeah,
I like. There's a number of streets and towns that will have a significantly cheaper option than filming on the streets in central London.
absolutely.
And they would be welcomed because
Yeah.
people would be excited to have them. So what are the kind of unique advantages and challenges of filming here? I suppose the unique advantages are the fact that I'd say we're the second biggest county, and there are no. I'm trying to think of places which doesn't cover the general, your police stations, your residential properties. From both a logistical and a creative standpoint, I think we're open for business.
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite location in Lincolnshire and what would make it special for filming? Besides the stadium that we're sat in.
Yeah. Do I have I love the seafront. I think I love to see the sea in films for whatever reason. There's a sense of escapism. I think Cleethorpes is a fantastic place, not just as a filming location, just in general. I've saying, my parents have a caravan in Skegness. I think the coastal line there is exceptional, and it goes for miles and miles. What I think here is such an untapped potential, because there's so many of these amazing locations that have probably not been kind of crystallized on screen, or maybe they're in moments, but we've not taken ownership. Like, this is our show, this is our regional show, or whatnot. And I think that opportunity is there for the taking if someone can do that. Hopefully that's me or you or.
I would love there to be some kind of returnable series like our Broadchurch that puts the landscape on the nation's consciousness.
Yeah.
Because that cliff is still visited.
Yeah.
And it must be 10 years ago.
Yeah. So I would probably say that would be my favorite. I mean, there's some manor houses here. There's some fantastic like cathedrals, but the coast, for whatever reason, I think that is it, because it as well as it can offer up an escapism, it can offer up an isolation as well. There's something quite unique about that, and I always like to see shows set in coastal towns or whatever. I don't know why. I think maybe because I grew up near Cleethorpes. I always enjoy my experiences there. I don't know.
And because your career started in Lincolnshire, how important is it for regional talent to see local pathways to the film industry?
Yeah. So in the sense of, can you stay in the region and have a career, or do you
or even find a way from Lincolnshire to a career outside?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I do talks every now and again at the colleges and stuff, and you always get the same kind of, but I'm from Scunthorpe. We don't get into. I'm like, that is just such a load of nonsense now. It's like those kind of challenges, or you're not from a kind of a trendy place or whatever. I'm like, they're actually your advantages. That for me has given me a resilience. That's made me go, no, I really want to do it. And I'm going to do it. If no one's going to give me a leg up, I'm going to do it, off my own back. So I think, if you're seen as a bit of an underdog, and it is going to be more challenging, probably, for sure. But again, that can tell me, how much do you want it? Do you know what I mean? Are you willing to go that kind of extra mile? And I was speaking to some filmmakers today. It's amazing that you've got all these kind of big towns and Lincoln, city, where you've got all these really fantastic creatives, and they can all network with each other, and they're all kind of open to that. Whereas in London, it is a little bit like, oh, I kind of do my thing and you kind of do your thing, so you're my competition and stuff like that. Although there is opportunities in abundance in London, it's still nice to know that there is, you can create a kind of friendly network here. I'm inspired by that.
Many productions coming to the county rely on local crew, locations and support. How do you see Sharp House contributing to the local creative ecosystem?
Yeah, so a big thing for me would be, we've got 2 shows actually that we want to set and focus in Lincolnshire. A big part of that is leveling up the kind of the the kind of talent in the area. So whether that is behind the camera, whether that is acting talent, that are based in the region, I think that's super important. That I think you have an obligation when you've got that level of opportunity. I think you have an obligation to, try and find the kind of new talent coming through, those new creatives, and giving them a platform to kind of showcase what they can do, that they can learn. I think that's something that's going to be really important to me, for sure. And I'd like to think that maybe I can be a bit of an example of, oh, you can be from here and you can go off to London, you can carve out a career and whatnot, but you're still very much proud of where you're from. You love love the region, and you want to kind of come back here and make stuff and showcase what inspired you in the first place to why you wanted to do the arts. So yeah, that's in my own kind of way. I'd like to think we could do it that way.
And you've been mentoring and advising emerging producers and crew.
Right.
What's key for you in passing on knowledge to the next generation?
I think I'm always I find this a challenge because I try to be honest, and I think, as we know, this is a very, very challenging, difficult career, but at the same time, the most rewarding when it's done right. And I'd rather just be kind of straight about that and go. Then that's not to say I don't want to take anyone's hope, but ultimately, like, this is a career where you can't dip your toe in. You've got to really kind of embrace it and try and give the longevity to it, to give yourself that kind of opportunity to showcase what you can do. So I try and be a realist as I can, but at the same time, try not to be a cynic about it, as well. And I'm very big on, because genuinely, I am not great at, if I look at me as a producer, I'm not great at any of it, but I can do it. Do you know what I mean? But I actually think that's a strength, is because I think I'm able to have conversations with everyone, whether it is, like I say, money people, actors, or whatever. I understand it all. And I think that's super important. So, if you're certainly starting out, I wouldn't be like, oh, I just do this, or I just want to go down that. I think that's the wrong way to look at it in 2026. I think you need to be jack of all trades now. You need to be able to embrace all different relevant kind of sides of the industry, in a good way, embrace it in a good way.
And if you were speaking to students in Lincolnshire,
Yeah.
considering a career in production or producing,
Yeah.
what would be your top piece of advice?
Top piece of advice. Again, I would go back to, you've got to be all in. Like, I hope that doesn't sound kind of wishy-washy or anything, but like, you've got to immerse yourself in the industry. You've got to be able to kind of put yourself out there. You've got to have the kind of courage to kind of show who you are, even if I am actually quite an introverted person, but like, I forced myself growing up to kind of get out there, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why maybe I had a career and some of my peers didn't, was because I wasn't afraid to go and network and go to these speed dating networking places, or go for a drink with, or I was lucky, to go to festivals and whatnot. I didn't care, like, to put myself out there. I didn't care if I was embarrassing myself or anything. I think that that's something where sometimes you can be really worried about, especially if you're a creative, like, oh, am I being judged or anything? I think you got to get past that. I think that's
But there's always the imposter syndrome.
I've
hiding
got it
there.
in abundance. Yeah.
And like, even earlier today, like standing in front of people,
Yeah.
I have massive fear of talking in
Yeah,
front of people,
yeah.
but I always remember that they can't hear the voices in my head, so
Yeah.
just get on with it. But what qualities make a good producer beyond the technical and the organisational finance understanding?
Yeah.
I think the word tenacity has been told to me,
Yes.
and just thick armour.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you? Have you been
Um,
tarnished with tenacity?
yeah, you've got that stuff. I think being curious, wanting to learn about people, wanting to learn about the world, different circumstances, challenges of what we all go through. I think being curious, not just necessarily about kind of film and TV, but politics or business or sport or whatever it is, because ultimately you're there to service the human experience, right?
Well, tell a story.
Yeah,
You're the conduit of everyone coming together to tell that story.
exactly.
And albeit the writer, the director that
Yeah,
makes that vision come together,
yeah,
without
yeah.
the producer,
Well, yeah, I
it,
mean, a lot of the times in our case, it's us that have gone, well, actually, we want to make a film about or a show about. So a lot of times it's come from us. And
Mhm,
then we found the
mhm.
writer or the director who will service that kind of vision. We'll support them and back them. But yeah, I just think being, um, what I do see is, again, this industry, people can stay in a bit of a bubble and they only want to kind of mix with other film people or whatever. And I think you've got to, like, you should have friends that are doing every job, every walk of life. I think I read this incredible book by actually, coincidentally, producer Brian Grazer, who's one of the most prolific producers of all time. He wrote this book called A Curious Mind, and from a young man to now being one of the biggest producers on the planet, every 2 weeks he will go and meet somebody who's in a completely different walk of life, completely different industry, and we'll just meet them for a coffee and just chat and just talk about life and stuff. And I don't do it every 2 weeks, but I read that, I was like, well, that's a great idea. And I think I was naturally doing it anyway because I'm interested in people. And that is something that I've really kind of taken with me. So I think being curious, tenacity and being entrepreneurial, thick-skinned, all of that stuff. But also I think being a curious person, I think that's something.
I mean, you seem similar to me that you just love a good chat
Yeah,
and just getting to know people because
yeah,
everyone's got a story,
yeah,
and even in the smallest of lives, it
yeah,
could be the most important of
yeah,
message.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
I
Be a
do think
universal
whether it's
moment.
a good
Yeah,
book or a good or an article or just
yeah,
sitting having a chat with someone, there's all,
yeah,
I mean, to the point of like maybe I should stop thinking there's a film or a story and
yeah,
everything,
yeah,
and just
yeah,
it's hard to watch TV or hard to watch
yeah,
documentary and go, oh, that could be a film, or read a book
yeah,
and
yeah,
go, I liked when I go on holiday,
yeah.
I like to make sure the book I'm reading has
Right.
already been made into a
Oh,
film,
really? Okay, yeah.
just so I can enjoy the
You
book
can just kind of switch
rather than
off
go,
and enjoy it.
this would be.
Well, that's what this place does for me. It's like I'm not thinking about movies when you're immersed in the 90 minutes, and it's like it's such a great form of escapism for me. I mean, it's the most thrilling form of entertainment, but at the same time, I can kind of like switch off and just focus on that. You're living in that kind of experience. I think the media industry can learn a lot from the football industry. I really do. I think there's a lot of relatability there about kind of being in the now. So yeah, that's kind of one of my forms of escapism.
What's the biggest misconception people have about what producers actually do?
Or that we're going to parties all the time, I guess, and we're hanging around with loads of celebrities, and we're jet setting around the world and all that kind of nonsense. It's the grind. You are sat at your desk, you are researching, you are putting budgets together, you are looking for inspiration, you are pulling your hair out, you question your own sanity. It's more probably that side of it than, that's, when people see the BAFTAs or the Oscars or whatever it might be, that is literally, or a premiere, as we know, that is like 2 days a year. If you're lucky to even be
Yeah, I was going to say
invited to that.
2 days every 6
Do you know what I
years.
mean? Like, if you're invited, if you're lucky enough to be even in that conversation, it's like you are grinding it out week in, week out. You are using all that kind of creative brain juice to kind of go, what am I doing? Why is this film? What am I missing here? Or what can I bring to this? Who else can maybe come to the party that we can get this thing going? Clearly, there's an idea here, but what is
And
it?
it's not your money.
Yeah.
That's a misconception, is that it's the producers that are paying.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, it's true. Although we do, I don't know if we're unique in this. Maybe we are, but at Sharp House, so the development finance, which, as we know, which obviously is the kind of seed money to kind of get maybe a script together, or a treatment together or whatever. I will always make sure that we will finance the kind of development side of it, because we want to put skin in the game. And I think that's been a big help for us as a production company. And I appreciate not everyone can do that, but if you're in that position where you can put, and it could be as little as like £500 into a treatment or something, but if you can put some skin in the game, I just think then when you're speaking to an investor and you go, well, I've done it. I've been on the other side as an investor. I respect that. I go, no, fair play to you. You're backing yourself,
Mhm.
and I think that's what you would do in any other business, any other industry. So
Is that ownership though? Are you putting the skin in the game to be
yeah,
playing it forward and having some part of that
oh,
IP?
I've always got to have ownership in everything. Yeah, it's for sure, because ultimately, it's a feast or famine industry, right? You make a little bit of money and then you're famine for a while. So your legacy is that ownership, is the intellectual property, is the material. But yeah, I want to. I don't, how do I explain? It's like, it's not to say I don't want to be bossed around, but like, you know, I want to be in those conversations. I want, and that's really important to me. Yeah, yeah.
So looking ahead, what excites you about producing still after all these years?
God, after all these years, man,
I don't know.
am I really old? I look really old. I'm really interested. I mean, we've done some kind of really unique stuff now in the digital space. I'm really interested in that space. I mean, I'll always be in film and TV. That'll always be something that I'll be passionate about. But what I love about the digital space is, going back to, there is an audience there. It is there. You've got to. It's difficult because everyone else is trying to get to that audience. But if you punch through and you back yourself and you have the right kind of material or format or whatever it might be, then it's almost immediate. You're seeing attention to it, and then revenue's coming from that. It's kind of reversed way of doing things, and I really like that. I think that's probably more natural to me as an entrepreneur. Is like, oh wow, I can create an idea and put it out there to market, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, okay, never mind. It's not going to bankrupt me. I think I'm really excited about that because I still think that space is completely untapped.
Mm.
And I think what I've learned over in the kind of film and TV, the kind of sophisticated storytelling side of things, I think if you can bring some of that essence into the digital stuff, where you can level up the quality of
I
production.
was going to say, I also think your production team's producing really good quality digital content,
Yeah.
which is
Thank you.
standing out in the market, and
yeah.
it's sports related, so it's
Yeah.
passion related.
Exactly.
So tell us a bit more about that, the actual content.
Yeah. So the first venture is a show, a YouTube channel called Life Jacket with John Fenners from Soccer AM. So I fundament when Soccer AM was cancelled, I fundamentally believe there's still an audience for that kind of like family friendly, football related kind of music, fashion. That was a great show with for discovering kind of new talent, new voices, new actors, kind of like TFI Friday now. I don't know if it's come back, but it's on YouTube. You know what I mean? So again, those kind of shows I grew up watching, I was really that was the next trendsetter there. That new actor who's in this new movie and stuff, like, or this new artist who's done this. I was like, I still feel like there's an audience for that, and it feels very fragmented. So kind of me and John kind of put our heads together, and Jason Maza, my business partner, of like, well, look, can we create? John had these wonderful ideas. Can we go out there and create that? And we didn't have any finance. We kind of bootstrapped it ourselves. Again, going to what I said earlier on about backing yourself. Let's go and put out some some episodes, and off the back of that, obviously the viewing figures were in the millions, and then we managed to get some kind of significant sponsorship, and one of the big brands that has sponsored us, which is going to be probably announced today actually, is going to be our equity partner in I mean, and that's game changing, for us. And then once we've proven the kind of concept of it now, since then we've already started to have conversations with talent, recognizable names that are in film and TV that go, oh, I'd love to do stuff like that as well. Yes, I'm an actor, but I'm really passionate about fitness, or I'm really passionate about vintage clothing, or whatever it might be. And there'll always be an audience for that, so that really excites me, that side of it.
So are there any other types of film projects or genres that you're looking to tackle or would like to do in the future?
I mean, we're doing an action kind of crime thriller for Netflix, shooting that in June. So that's really exciting. I just want to make big, bold kind of stuff, like probably not so much kind of now those kind of kitchen sinky dramas or whatever. That's going to be very, very difficult. Period piece stuff, I don't really watch a lot of period stuff, so that's probably not something that I'm interested in. I know Jason's desperate to make like a kind of a romance kind of comedy, so I'm like, okay, we'll try and find one. But I just like kind of big, bold, loud stuff, you know. Like if that's the kind of stuff I grew up watching. You know, I'm like Jurassic Park, these big movies. Like as a kid, I was like, I want to do that. Do you know what I mean? Why can't we do that? You know, the Americans come over here and do that. Well, can't we do it as British producers? Yeah. So yeah, that stuff really excites me. Yeah.
So what do you think platforms like Location Links and Location Links Loud, why are they important for showcasing creative talent and what we're doing in Lincolnshire?
I think they're fundamental. If you don't have that, I think you're going to really struggle. You know, they're you know, you're an organization that can keep kind of creatives, you know, people like myself that are wanting to kind of film in the region accountable. But at the same time, you're also able to go, look, there is crew there is talent there is these amazing locations, there is a film office. You know, I think as a producer, you need as much help and support as you can get. And you know, if I'm considering where to kind of set the production, and there's you know, Yorkshire, not picking on them because they're amazing at what they do and it's a wonderful place. You know, if that's already, that infrastructure's in place, but I go, oh, but I'd love to do it in Lincolnshire, and that doesn't exist. Well, now it does because of you, you know. And I think suddenly it's like, well, you've got a ticket for the ride now, you know. And Lincolnshire didn't really have that before, you know. I think so. And it's great, and it gives hope as well for creatives that are in the region, going, God, where's my opportunity going to come from? It's like, well, Heather's on it. You know what I mean? Like she's
We're
on
on
the
it.
case. We're on the case. But yeah, I mean, you've started you've dropped a massive rock into a pond, or we started a ripple, and you've kind of, and from that, just all the things kind of open up or whatever. And I think it takes someone like yourself, Heather, who's going to go, I'm just going to do it. You know, I'm not going to wait for permission anymore. It's kind of how I was a producer or had my own agency. I was like, I'm just going to do it, you know, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, never mind, you know.
It will work.
It will be.
How would you like our audience to feel after hearing your story today?
Hopefully inspired, you know, hopefully inspired, maybe a little bit more clued up on what a producer actually does. I'd like to think, you know, wow, there's someone who's come from, you know, Scunny and now lives in London and he's making films and whatever. I'd like
Who'd have thunk Scunny and Scaregay?
yeah, Scunny and Skegness, yeah, geez, I mean, come on. Live the dream,
It's
yeah.
possible.
Yeah,
It's possible.
but it's like, I mean, I just think to myself, why not? Like that is such a that gives you, I genuinely believe that gives you an advantage. You know, it's like, this is who I am. I'm not like everyone else. You know, I've got a unique story and got a unique background. I think hopefully if that person is watching that might make them go, actually, maybe there is a way, because Heather did it, Ian's done it, and yeah, hopefully they've got a little bit of that.
So finally, it's gone very quick, but it's been, thank you
Great.
so much for joining
my
us.
pleasure, yeah.
If a production's considering filming in Lincolnshire,
Yep.
what would you say to them? Not just about the locations, but about the talent and sport and creative potential of the county. Why would they come here?
I just think you're going to get a lot of yeses in a place like Lincolnshire. It's like, yes, we're absolutely thrilled and honored that you would want to film in this location or use our services, our facilities. Whereas you do that in London, it's like, it's almost like you're an inconvenience. It's like, whereas I don't think you're going to get that here. I think you're going to get your pound is going to go infinitely further. And that's not just on a kind of production level. It's like, you're going to get people in the region that are going to go out above and beyond to support you and champion you. And I think that is 10xing the kind of the project that you're working on and the production. That's why I say, you know, you'll get yeses here, you'll get support here. Whereas we know, obviously, if you're filming in certain locations or whatever, it's like I say, you're almost seen as a massive nuisance, even though you bring in a huge amount of kind of opportunity and kind of revenue into the region. Whereas I don't think you'll see that here at all. So yeah, I think that's a big thing.
Thank you, Ian.
Pleasure.
Hope you've enjoyed. Thanks for having us again.
Yeah, no worries at all. We've got a big game tomorrow, so fingers crossed. Pitch is looking okay. So yeah, no, I'm really pleased that you got to see Scunthorpe United, and you came to Scunthorpe. And you know, I've always said, why can't Scunthorpe be doing like, you know, events like this? Why can't we be like attracting films and television? Like I just, you know, why can't someone from Skegness be in the movie industry? Why not? You know what I mean? It's like, And I think that this is just another way of showing what's out there, you know. So I appreciate you being here. I'm very grateful.
Well, I am also too. So thank you, Ian. I will see you soon.
Great. Yeah. I'll speak to you
Hopefully on production in Lincolnshire.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you, mate. This podcast was created by Keel Productions in partnership with the School of Creative Arts at the University of Lincoln and brought to you by our headline sponsor, Associated British Ports. Join us next episode where we'll meet Coronation Street star Lisa George and Lee Waddingham, founders of Acting Links, a CIC supporting actors across Lincolnshire.